want to speak about organization and ecstasy. Often we think that there is a contradiction between the two. Bhakti is a spontaneous outpouring of the heart. True. Organization, coordination, yeah, a bit of that is necessary, but let's not go overboard with it. But what I want to do is speak to you from Chaitanya Lila and show you how both organization and ecstasy, in fact, the highest bhakti ecstasies, go on together. We're at a very crucial point in humanity's history on this planet. The great technological, military, economic bastions have been brought to their knees by a microbe. This is a great time for flooding the world with Lord Chaitanya's mercy, because intelligent people are thinking, what is real progress? And what are we all about? We thought we had it made. All right, a few world wars, a few economic collapses here and there, but yeah, it's life. But a global pandemic? Yes, it's happened before, early in the 20th century, the so-called Spanish flu, which experts now say infected 1 out of every 3 persons in the world at that time, and killing, now they say, minimum 50 million and could be 100 million. In India alone, 17 million. So yes, the world has seen such global calamities, but human beings forget so easily. Don't think that experience teaches very well. No, it is the sound vibration coming from genuine authorities that makes the difference in human progress. And these books that we're distributing are authorized knowledge. They're sound vibration that can counteract a global pandemic by getting to the root of all difficulties for the conditioned souls. Just like we have a global pandemic now, the Vaishnavas want to counteract that with a book distribution innovation that covers the whole world. This is why now, more than ever before, we need global coordination. Because if there can be a global pandemic, why can't there be a global coordination of book distribution? We want to think big because we're followers of Mahaprabhu. We don't need to ask permission from Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, to swim and splash in the flood of love of Krishna. The order is already there. As you read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I order every man, woman, child, everyone, distribute. Now let's look at the Gundicha Marjana Leela, the cleansing of the Gundicha Mandir. Mahaprabhu did ask permission. So yes, following his footsteps, all right, we can ask permission, but the permission has already been given. Wherever you go, whomever you meet, teach the science of Krishna. As Srila Prabhupada would always explain, this is the same instruction as what Lord Krishna gives in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna says, Sarvadhamam prityaja, mamekam sharanam vraja. Surrender to me. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says the exact same thing. And yes, we should meditate on this point and see the complete similarity. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, wherever you go, whomever you meet, teach the science of Krishna. On my order, you do that. This is surrender to Krishna. So there is our order. We receive the permission. And then what? What did Mahaprabhu do in the Gundicha Marginal Leela? He organized. All right, we're going to approach the whole project in this way. There's the inside of the mandir. There's the outside. There's a place where the boga is offered. There's a place where the boga is stored. There were crews of devotees acting in coordination. And surcharging the whole event was enthusiasm as everyone vibrated the holy names of Krishna. And Mahaprabhu personally took part. I have to confess right now, I'm feeling separation from opportunities for me personally to meet the people face to face with books, because I twisted my ankle and it's giving me difficulty. But I've got to figure out some way, somehow, something. Mahaprabhu personally engaged, and then others followed his example. There were targets set. Yes. How did Mahaprabhu do that? He said, I can tell how much you've cleansed. I can tell how thoroughly you did this by looking at your piles of straw and dust. He didn't just say, okay, Prabhus, do your thing, and what's done is done. Whatever happens, happens, and hey, soon it'll be time for the feast. No, he evaluated everyone's contribution. And of course, whatever he did was much more. And after having everyone cleanse the temple so thoroughly and inspecting what they did, he asked them to do it again. Like sometimes people say, well, how long is this book distribution effort going to go on? One time, okay, 1 decade, isn't it enough? But where in the Bhagavatam do we see that enough Krishna Kathas happened? Enough nectar is poured? No. Just like the sages at Naimisaranya in talking to Sutta Goswami. They say, we never tire of hearing and chanting the glories of Krishna. Those who actually are expert in rasa, they relish at every step. Swadu, swadu, pade, pade. So we're eager for endless opportunities. We never want the flood of book distribution to end. Because the book distribution is the distribution of Krishna Katha. Mahaprabhu had some devotees with water pots, clay pots holding water. And then while that water was being poured in the temple, other devotees, hundreds of them, were waiting to get those pots and take them back to the river and fill them again. Sometimes there were things, hiccups.
Krishna.
Someone needs to turn off their microphone. Sometimes there were hiccups, apparently. Devotees with their water pots would collide and the pots would break. So that teaches us that even in executing Mahaprabhu's mission, we have to be a little tolerant sometimes. And from the material point of view, it looks like there's some inefficiency or something doesn't go right. But when you read about this in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you see that still the show goes on, the flood goes on. Not that, what is this? There's been some mismanagement. Some pots are broken. The devotees are doing their best. So yes, in our execution of Mahaprabhu's order, we have to be tolerant. We're not looking for material perfection. We want, of course, to make the best offering as possible. But sometimes, because this is a material world, there's, it won't be like the old days, will it? Back in the 70s, I remember. You jump in your van, head out for Sankirtan, and then there's no gas in the tank. No, I'm sure you all are much better organized. And the Gundicha Mandir Leela was completely organized. There was evaluation also. Mahaprabhu, besides analyzing everyone's contribution, would, in a very sweet Vaishnava-like way, be a bit judgmental. If he would see that someone wasn't really laboring as according to their capacity, he would go up to them and say, "Oh, you've done so nicely. Please teach others." And the devotee would get the hint. So, yes, we have our own methods, our own humble methods of inspiring devotees. We're not Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he's showing us how to be sensitive and how to value everyone's contribution and motivate everyone to go a little bit higher. Then you look at Rath Yatra. But don't forget that during the cleansing of the Gundicha Mandir, there was ecstasy flowing all the time amidst the coordination and the organization. Mahaprabhu was crying while he's cleansing the temple, and sometimes he would wash the temple with his own tears. So again, our theme, organization and ecstasy don't cancel each other out. You see that in Chaitanya Leela. And as we go to Rath Yatra, we see the Rath Yatra cart of Lord Jagannath. Mahaprabhu had organized parties, mridanga players, dancers, chanters. And all the while, Mahaprabhu is demonstrating unparalleled bhakti ecstasies. Even when he would leap in the air, he would have 9 persons to be with him, 9 persons supervised by Sup Damodar. The more that we can work together, the more you'll see a force that can far surpass what a global pandemic does. And then we know our life has been successful. We're very thankful to Vaisheshika Prabhu for spearheading a global flood. You may have thought it's just poetry when you read in the 7th chapter of the Adi Leela, the universe is already flooded. What do you mean already flooded? The potentiality has already been there. It's up to us to ignite that potentiality. And that way we get some credit. So I appeal to you all to use your intelligence, use your organizational abilities, and you'll see the ecstasy happen according to your according to where you're at. There's no shortage of spontaneous ecstasy in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. How can there be when Mahaprabhu is the embodiment of ecstasy and pure love? And we're his humble followers through parampara. The other day, the Pope released a book called Let Us Dream, and it had very nice moral instructions. People should be more kind. People should be more forgiving. Let us be inclusive. Let us especially focus on those who are unfortunate. And in this way, the world will be able to receive God's mercy. But while appreciating all of that, of course, we wonder, where is the process for clearing the heart, transforming the heart? That's what the Sankirtan movement is doing. It's not just distributing information. It is working on people's hearts so that they become transformed. It's a process, just like chanting Hare Krishna is a process. The distribution of Krishna's glories is a process that clears the heart from the worst contamination, which is the bodily conception of life. Now, where else are you going to find such direct information that pinpoints this major problem, this greatest problem in the heart? How many temples, mosques, churches, synagogues, yoga schools, meditation schools, mindfulness centers can you go to and immediately get clear instruction that you are not the body and mind, you are spirit soul? Without that basic knowledge, how can there be any peace for the heart? So I was thinking, reading the Pope's good words. Let's be kind. Let's focus on the needs of the poor, the oppressed, those who are forced to migrate. Let us be open. But none of that is going to happen as long as human beings are dominated by bodyism. So what is the way that human society can get over this number one contamination? Religious platitudes are nice. We all agree. But something more is needed. And that's why we, as servants of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, need to rise to the occasion. And what better way to do that is there than letting loose a global inundation? The opposite of a global pandemic is the global Sankirtan movement. And that will get to the root of all human problems, all environmental problems, all economic problems. The heart will actually become cleansed, cleared, and transformed. This is the potency of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada, as you know, went through so many austerities and ordeals to give us this literature. We're not thinking, haven't we already distributed so many books? We're thinking, we haven't distributed enough. You can even, if you want to be materially calculating, understand that, okay, there was the 70s, a huge wave of book distribution, but now it's 2020. The population of the world has increased significantly. So even if you think that everyone back in the 70s got a book, which they didn't, you've got millions more persons who are now on the planet. So our work has just begun. And we're so fortunate we can get credit by being the humble servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I thank you all for your kind attention, and I'm honored and blessed to be a part of this holy assembly, and I can't wait. I'm going to figure out a way I can hobble outside. uh, just let me share something with you. It's not me, it's the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hobbling through Ratha Yatra 2 weeks ago in New Zealand. I met one young man, and I talked to him, and I was feeling the ecstasy of the Ratha Yatra. I put my arm around him, and he was like an MBA graduate. And I told him, this knowledge is the most authorized. It will actually get to the root of your personal crises and the world's crises. So he looked at me very thoughtfully. And I thought that was the end of that. 3 days later, a devotee, Nitai Chandas, who does a book table on the main street in the city, said this young man came up to him and bought a full set of Srimad Bhagavatams on the street. So I could say, well, what's the use? Here I am hobbling on a bad ankle. What can I do? And nothing much will come of my endeavors. I'll talk to this person, but really, maybe I should just go continue in the Ratha Yatra procession. I could have thought like that, but here's an example of how many hands make light work. I tried to contribute in a tiny way, very tiny compared to what you all are doing. And a result happened beyond what I could expect. Someone 3 days later goes seeking out, I want a full set of those books. So just an example of if everyone does their little bit and tries to do more, inconceivable things happen. So I'm sure that you all have your own extraordinary realizations. Many of you are thinking daily how to increase. And that is transcendental ecstasy. That's thinking about Krishna. The more you meditate on how to increase the flood of Srila Prabhupada's books, the more dear you become to Krishna. I thank you very much.